Hysterical.
These people are confused. Just need to love God stronger. You are loving God more. You are loving me. What do you call it? The street Jesus.
Live from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the Path.
We're not animals, Mike. We're not animals.
I don't know why you would tell us the mute buttons don't work. If you wouldn't have brought it up, no one would have tried any of
Not a
this
single
shenanigans.
one of us would have done anything. We've just been
But as soon
normal.
as you go, hey man, just a heads up, boys, mute buttons don't work.
You've known him since the beginning, literally. You've known me for a while. Of course, if you tell us, hey, no mutes today, you got to be quiet.
Okay, that's true. That's my fault. All right, you're listening to Live from the Path. Here's what we got going on the show this evening. Hey, legit, we got a couple stories that I want to talk through. The first one was Dan found a story that says 6 sins you didn't know you were guilty of.
I think we need to know.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been cover to cover. I can't believe there's going to be surprises.
These are ones you didn't know.
Yeah, you weren't
You
aware
might
that
have
was
missed
happening.
these in that Bible you've been reading.
So we're gonna cover these and we'll just see if these are hitting you.
All right.
You know, this is time for self-reflection.
Can we quickly determine who might have the most? I
Yeah.
think I might be 5 of 6.
Yeah, I agree.
Mike's a 4 of 6.
Sure.
Dan's a 2.
No, I think Dan. I think Bova, you're 6 of 6. You didn't. The sixth one was humility.
Oh, cats!
You arrogant turd.
I knew I was going to click that one. All right, Dan's 2 of 6. Ben is 3 of 6.
Ben's also 6 of 6.
Yeah,
Ben's also 6 of 6. All right.
yeah. Let's see. And then there was. I found. I don't even know how I got onto this thing. There was like a thread, a Twitter thread.
It's always a good start.
A threader. And so this lady was talking about, I think basically how she broke up with Jesus. And I'm like, oh, okay. But like, I was actually super compelled by this story.
Yeah.
Because I thought we've got some thought to do here. We've got some thinking to do as a church. Because I don't know. After I read this, I thought I think there's answers to some of the things, but I don't find this outrageous what this woman has said.
And she's not the only one. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, we've heard that before.
Yes,
It just this was in writing.
that's right. And so I thought it was well, like, succinctly enough articulated that, like, how do we respond to this, either as a church or to this person or as individuals? I want to talk through that. I think it's a healthy exercise.
I kind of thought if I were her, I might have done the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I read that. I thought, yeah.
Yep. I could see that. Sure.
Yeah, it's messy.
Yeah, which interesting. It makes you think of the phrase like "by the grace of God go I," but like if it's not the family that I was surrounded with, or the churches that I've been involved with, or the friends, or the spouse, you're like it's just so easy to have your frame of reference shift or get burned a few times, and then like have it just be easier to do something else,
Yeah.
and it's easy to go. You know, I'm this is supposed to be true, but like I'm looking around and I'm not seeing it, and I'm looking in the places where I'm supposed to see it. And I'm like, I think I get it. So anyway, we're gonna talk through that one and see what our responses would be. Also, we got some advice on Dear Live from the Path. Mike, is there any heads up on what's going on today, or we're gonna shake them up, shake them up, shake them up, shake them?
This would be a good time to defer to Buva.
I was going to say, that's the international sign of no, he does not have any preview of anything that's happening right now.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Not
you
open
go.
the mailbox.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Let's start with the 6 sins you didn't know you were guilty of. The ad at the top of this thing is called The Lisa Show. Isn't that arrogant?
Wait, is this part of the article? Or
Isn't
did
that
you
an
just
arrogant thing to
throw
do?
that exposition out there?
No, I'm
She
just
may be
saying.
guilty.
Hold on here. I'm going to give you a cut of this so you can see it. What do you think of that? It says The Lisa Show.
Real people, real parents. The Lisa Show.
Now, she has enough money to advertise on the BeliefNet.com. I'm just saying, like, The Ben Show, are there not... just an arrogance to
Is
it,
that
I
like
think.
It's not like
an
she
actual
called
photo,
it-
Is it? It's like a cartoony thing, or is it?
No, that's just her face.
Maybe
What are you
it's just
talking
my
about,
ankle.
cartoon?
Oh, Dan.
Maybe she wears a lot of makeup.
That's
It's
inter-
not, if she would have called it No Other Lisas, that would be different. She's just a sampling of the Lisas.
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
Got a
she
better
said
view
The
here.
Lisa Show. If she said A Lisa Show,
The market.
that would be
I'm
better.
one of the Lisas.
Any Lisa's out
Maybe
there?
maybe her last name is Show.
Okay.
Oh, maybe so.
She's
But that'd be
the Lisa Show.
The Lisa Show.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a great idea. I'm going to open up a Ben podcast. Not the Ben, but of Bens that are
Yeah.
available. This is one of them.
You should do a
We
bin,
accept all Bens.
a bin that has ever been.
I don't care for that.
That's your
don't.
laugh that says, I wish that was funny, what
Yeah.
you just said.
I don't like that. I feel
Something wrong with the curve of your face, Bubba.
Here we go.
Man, actually, whatever. Mike says that the shape of my face is weird and I shouldn't wear hats, and I'm sick of it. I haven't seen the man in a while, and that was the first thing he said to me was, I think you think you're a hat man, but you're not. And I said, hey, man, I kind of like the hat. It looks good. And he goes, no, it doesn't work with the shape of your face. I said, thank you so much for immediately inventing a new thing for me to be self-conscious about. Mike Foost.
Hello, everybody.
Sorry. All right, back to the article.
Thanks,
My bad.
friend.
Okay, let's see if Mike's problems with the world are going to show up in this list. As Christians, we are to avoid sin, but how can we avoid sin if we don't fully comprehend what it is? An easy way to think of sin is the concept of missing the mark. If a sports player, we don't care. Anyway, it may be that sin that is just underneath the surface. It may be the ones we consider acceptable that are sabotaging us. These often go undetected, but have a bigger impact on us than we even know. Here are 6 sins that you need to pay attention to. Hey, man, here's a bigger advertisement for the Lisa Show, but it's still her face. She's
Download
really
the podcast now.
I wonder how much it costs to advertise on BeliefNet.net, BeliefNet.com.
I'm sure
Wait.
we can't afford it.
It's beliefnet.com.
.com, yeah.
BeliefNet.com.
It's weird to see net and then the .com right afterwards.
BeliefNet.com.
Christians don't know how to use the internet.
BeliefNet.
It's beliefgov.net.
Yeah. Can I buy?
org.
Yeah, BeliefGov.com. I'll pay $50.
When you're Lisa,
That
you can do
domain
whatever you
seems
want.
unique.
Okay, the first one, the sin of fear.
Fear.
Fear. This is one of the most popular weapons that the enemy uses against us. Worry, anxiety, and fear can overwhelm us with the thick shadow of darkness, controlling our every move and decision. The Bible tells us, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. While there are countless verses that remind us that with God we don't have to fear, we Christians tend to be fearful a lot. We're constantly afraid to make decisions or to step into dangerous situations because we are scared of the outcome. This is not what God intended for the church. The love of God and our faith in God should cast out all fear. Is it a sin, though?
I was just about, there were commands in the moment of like an angel showing up to someone's
Right.
body and scaring the crap out of them.
Well, I think that's why she set it up, though. She's not saying we have rebelled against God by fear, but we have missed the mark of what he expects of us in faith.
Okay. Yeah.
I think
But I
that's
feel
her
like
point.
that's kind of a...
I mean, would it be fair to say that Jesus died for your fear?
Seems a little, yeah.
It's elevated. So,
Yeah.
but if I neglected... it's a good point. I wonder if it feels like a bit of a scansion where you're like...
What?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do I mean? You think I'm worried about some other word besides scansion?
I was going to say, Ben, you take that sentence back. And you find the one word that Mike might have gone, what?
I'm going to say this the whole show. That's a real scansion.
What could you be asking about?
No, go ahead, Ben. Fire out with it.
I'm actually pretty sure I used that incorrectly. I didn't even use it right.
I, of course, knew that.
So it's a twisting of, just because it could apply to both doesn't mean the severity of both. Right. I might miss the mark. I might miss an opportunity to walk with Jesus for my own benefit today by not praying constantly. But that's not the same thing as God said, do this thing, and you missed the mark, and it created a debt. It's not a debt creation; it's a miss of an opportunity.
Right.
Whereas if I randomly punch a guy on the street and steal his wallet, I created a debt into the world. That's not quite the same thing. So I think maybe just be careful. Only because, why is it important to protect that distinction? Is that fear is a lot more nuanced and gray than this. Hey man, why are you afraid of that angel in front of you? Because I'm rebelling against the Lord.
Because a creature with 1,000 eyes just showed up in front of me and it's really friggin' bright.
He's got a fiery sword.
Yeah, I
He's
usually
looking right
take
at
this
me.
kind of stuff.
Incredibly loud. Did you notice that? Don't fear. Thanks.
Okay.
That's the voice of Minnie Waters. I shouldn't be worried at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to call that a sin. I mean, I know what she's saying. I would agree with her in principle.
Yeah,
Fear,
yeah.
let's not fear, and let's exercise
Yeah, we
our
tend to
faith.
use it more as an
Let's grow.
encouragement, though, right? To say, your fear doesn't get to own you. God is the answer to that fear.
Yeah.
Not if you don't let God be the answer to the fear, because your natural broken humanity all of a sudden it is a sin against a holy God.
Right.
It's a stretch into anxiety. Oh, my daughter's out later than I expected with the car, and where is she? Oh no, she's in a ditch. She's blah blah blah. All your mind starts playing. You guys haven't got that far yet, but
Oh, no.
you will.
Oh no, I had to. I was actually anxious. I've okay. I'm gonna be just maybe this is too transparent here, but like I had
A boil.
no.
Go ahead, Ben.
It's more of a rash.
It started in my armpit, and it made it, and it made its way. No, but like I remember thinking, I got teenagers in my house, and the teenagers and the mom they cackle with each other, and so. I think it's most of my mind. I think, it's teenagery stuff. It's teenagery stuff. It's it'll shake. But then I just kind of look at the world around me and I go, it does feel like more and more people are not shaking things that feel like they should have passed by already. And I remember just some conversations that were going at my house recently, and even tonight, and like I think one of my kids didn't feel great after the conversation, and it was too bad. You don't want her to feel that way, but we were trying to encourage her in something that was ultimately right. And then it just for some reason there was a moment about 30 seconds to a minute. I just became I was sad, and I got worried, and I thought like this is a passing thing. It's that teenagers go through, and I thought, well, what if it wasn't though? Like, what if it hung? What if it hung? And it shouldn't. And and this stuff is just normal and healthy. But like, there's people that are my age that have been carrying around mama daddy wounds and stuff that they felt, and like some legit, but some things where it felt like there was a path to kind of grow through it, but for some reason or another it never happened. And there was just like it washed over me a bit, and I got a little bit anxious about it for that reason, because I thought, well, what if it didn't shake? What if she's feeling a way about herself or about her parents or about the situation, and something that she should grow stronger from instead becomes an anchor on her? And so I don't know. It happened to me tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, fear. I think the other example I thought of was like, it's like telling your kid, if this is God speaking to people and it's storming outside, and it's the difference between saying, hey, don't be afraid, buddy, it's just a storm, we're going to be just fine, or stop being afraid, you festering jackwagon. Right. Like, okay, he's not missing the mark. He needs encouraged how to deal with a situation that is bigger than him. And I think that's what's going on here. And that's often how God is interacting with us. And I think we get this feels wrong a little bit on how.
So we're kind of disagreeing with Lisa?
I think so.
Even though she has her own show?
Is this her? Is this actually Lisa?
Is she advertising on her own thing?
Wait a minute, I didn't even think about that. Who's this written by? Leslie White. You think that's a pseudonym? Just a real poorly thought out one?
Lisa's got her own ghostwriters.
Yeah. I like the art on this thing is some like lonely dude trucking down the road on a dirt road.
Yeah, because it's not a real Christian article if it's not got a photo like it.
Look at this! Top. Look at this forlorn Freddy.
Oh, sweet Moses! If that's not an album cover to at least 20 Casting Crowns albums, I don't know what it is.
I'm guilty of fear. Okay, next one. Comfort. We love comfort. We like things to stay the way we like them.
Kind of the definition of comfort, isn't it? Like stuff I like.
That's the definition of a church potluck.
Yeah. Who really wants to be forced out of their comfort zone? But we can't disciple to others when we're hooked on being comfortable. Too many people in the church turn comfort into an idol. When this happens, it is so easy for small differences of opinion on insignificant matters to cause people to fight and things to break down. I don't think comfort is the problem on that last one.
No, I think we tied two things together with a real loose string.
Yeah.
Now, is that getting close maybe to Revelation and the seven churches and the apathy thing? Did Jesus call that sin, or he just said to repent?
I mean, apathy and comfort are two different things, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's the tie together where they said, too many people in the church turn comfort into an idol.
Yeah.
When this happens, it's easy for small differences of opinion on insignificant matters to cause people to fight. That I don't see that correlation. I don't understand the correlation.
That's not a comfort problem.
Yeah, no,
that's not a comfort problem at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, that one was weird. I mean, once again, like the Bible speaks against finding value or placing all of your value in worldly comfort.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if God calls you to bits of comfort and bits of uncomfort, we're okay with all those things because in the end, ultimate comfort will be. And so, like, I don't know that it's a sin to want comfort. Certainly all these are true. Like it's a sin to worship any of these things, to put any of these things in God's chair. That is certainly a problem.
So if you had to call it, like, what's there is a sin in here that says, look, God has a way of doing something. He's calling me into something. He's asking me to do something, and instead I'm choosing me.
The sin is not following the command that you're supposed to be doing.
That's right.
It's not that you're comfortable. It's the fact that if God's called you out of said comfort and you said no.
Yes, that's right.
That's the problem.
That's right. I imagine Solomon was comfortable in some parts of his life.
It kind of happens.
Yeah, because the opposite of this makes it sound like, oh, you got a cushy couch, do you?
Right.
You gluttonous pig.
Did you realize you're sinning because you like your pillow?
Yeah.
Now, I just had a conversation last week where I have a pretty full schedule most of the time, and someone has invited me to do more. Now, don't do any less. I'm not changing anything, but add more to my plate.
Yep.
And I guess going through this filter, I'm thinking I cannot use the excuse of comfort to say, well, I don't think I will. I guess what I'm praying right now is, God, is this what you want me to do?
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
There's discernment there.
Yeah, so I guess, I'm just thinking out loud. I mean, like,
right.
I don't see me saying no, because I like to have my Thursdays from 10 to 11 free time.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's, or whatever.
It is.
Right. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. I think that's right. So, but that rolls up to the same thing. Like, are you saying no to God and saying yes to yourself? Well, that's the problem, whether it's comfort or whatever. Yeah. But like, I don't think it's also not wrong. Well, whatever. You don't ache because you got to bed at a decent time, or because you did have, we did block off Thursdays to with other things that are important, like I'm comfortable around my family. Well, you should hate your family because
right.
leave them.
Comfort is of the devil.
Right, because there's other parts of Scripture, like God is for you.
Right.
Like He knows you, He loves you. Like He built in a whole Sabbath day of rest and
He gave
comfort.
you a day of rest for a reason.
Right, and so like He's not against your comfort. He's basically saying, like, I mean, He wouldn't call you out of comfort if He didn't have a good reason to, right? Either to help change you or to change other people or bring what He's trying to. And so basically what you're saying is, like, God's priorities are this, which are covering a lot more ground than mine currently are. Right now, my tuchus feels nice. Right? If I had to get up and walk 3 miles to accomplish God's purposes, I'm assuming God's going to make that 3 miles dead worth it, and He always does.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, it's basically is a mistrust of God. It's saying, I don't trust you when you're asking me to trade my comfort. What is it exactly you're asking me to trade it for? And like, God has never come up wanting in the delivery of what He's asked you to change.
Right. It made me think about, like, what's one of the, if I had to look back at my life and go, what's one of the greatest gifts that I feel like God has given me? It's my spouse, right? And so if I look and say, boy, thank you, God, I have someone who I can be myself with, I can be comfortable with, and then I have to believe that God gave me a wife simply so I can have something to get rid of because she's a risk to me. And like, it don't sniff right.
Just making you pretty comfy there.
That's right. I'm feeling a little too comfortable, babe. I got to split. Okay, number 3. Oh, shoot. I missed it. Worry. As Christians, we are everybody's a chronic worrier. We are often convinced that we can handle everything on our own, which gives us a false sense that we are in control when only God is in control.
That is a sin.
Yeah. The Bible tells us, I'm not sure that's how I would define worry, though.
Agreed.
Often people worry because it's very clear to them that they're not in control.
Right.
Yeah.
And they may not trust God, or they may.
It's the what if.
Yeah. Even, and because here's the thing, a right understanding of God's sovereignty complicates this, right? Like a misunderstanding of it says, oh, I don't worry about this. God has got this all under control. It doesn't mean, but like, if you recognize God's sovereignty, it means that He may not agree with you or may not do the thing that you're expecting. Right. And so it's the fear of the unknown causes people to worry. I don't know how God will react in this situation. Yeah. I mean, it's a process, I think, to go through a sanctification to start turning that over and trusting God in those things. But like, I don't think the back thing. I wonder if this is written by AI. Like they just they went and found a bunch of Christians.
Don't be comfortable, human.
Lisa's a robot.
Stop worrying.
That's right.
Lisa's a robot. That's why Dan thought she was an anime.
Well, it was my angle on the screen.
He says,
Don't worry, Dan, I don't think she's going to watch this podcast.
The Bible tells us, cast all your anxieties on Him because He cares for you. 1 Peter 5:7. Our Heavenly Father doesn't call us to carry this heavy burden. God takes care of us. When speaking to His disciples, Jesus gave 2 reasons why we should not worry. First, he says that we should not worry because of who we are. Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? If he takes care of the birds, will he not take care of us? Jesus is ultimately telling us that when we worry, we diminish our value. Again, I'm not sure that's a diminishment of your value. It's I think you're not living life abundantly.
We're stepping
Right.
back from blessing that could be
Yes.
ours
Yeah.
if we lived.
All
that
of this
abundant.
is the missed opportunity on living the way that God has called us to live versus the sin that separates us from God entirely.
Yeah. Both
like-
of which God longs to reconcile,
Of
but
course.
in different ways.
Yeah, no, the life that is going in line with these things is not a sinful life based off of these. It is a life of missed opportunity in the life that God calls us into abundance in His commands and the things that He has set for us.
Right.
We don't worry because He's working in our lives. We don't fear because He's got our back. All of those things. But that's not the sin there. That's just we are missing things.
Yeah.
Let me enjoy a quick diversion into 2 Kings chapter 6.
Okay.
Once when the king of Syria was warring against Israel, he took counsel with his servants, saying, "At such and such a place shall be my camp." But the man of God sent word to the king of Israel, said, "Beware that you do not pass this place, for the Syrians are going to be down there." And the king of Israel sent to the place about which the man of God told him. Thus he used to warn him, so that he saved himself there more than once or twice. And in the mind of the king of Syria was greatly troubled because of this thing, and he called his servants and said to them, "Will you not show me who of us is for the king of Israel?" Convinced there's a spy in his camp that's ratting out where he's going to have all his stuff.
Right.
And one of his servants said, "There's no spies here, O king, but Elisha, the prophet who is in Israel, tells the king of Israel the words that you speak in your bedroom." Creepy. And he said, "We'll go and see where he is, that I may send and seize him." It was told him, "Behold, he's in Dothan." So he sent these horses and chariots and a great army, and they came by night and surrounded all of Dothan. When the servant of the man of God arose early in the morning, so this is Elisha's servant.
Yep.
He arose early in the morning and went out. Behold, an army with horses and chariots was all around the city. And the servant said, "Alas, my master, what shall we do?" That sounds like worry and fear to me.
Yeah.
The master Elisha says, "Do not be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them." Then Elisha prayed and said, "O Lord, please open his eyes that he may see." So the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. And when the Syrians came down against him, Elisha prayed to the Lord and said, "Please strike this people with blindness." So he struck them with the blindness in accordance with the prayer of Elisha. Blah, blah, blah. They lead him off to
So
another
it was not a
land.
prayer of repentance.
Yeah.
It was-
So,
Right.
so we read this story for one of two reasons. One, the servant's reaction when he walks out of the house and is surrounded by a great
crap.
vast army goes, "Oh boy,
Yeah. Oh, geez.
It's
I think
rough.
I'm worried.
Elisha, you seen these guys?
I have fear. There's a giant army here. There's just the two of us." And then Elisha prays to God and says, "Show him
Yeah.
the reality of the situation." Right? And so some of this fear and some of this worry, God is well aware that we don't see all of the actual reality. Right? And so this is where I'm having a hard time listing this as a we'll call it a burden of sin to wear. Right? Like most sin, we take on and we go, I can recognize God's behavior versus my behavior, and I'm failing here. But I am not currently capable of taking in the reality that God is. Right? And so when Elisha prays that the young man could see what's actually going on here, the Lord opens his eyes to the spiritual realm, and there are chariots of Jesus' fire covering the land. Nothing is going to happen that God has not designed to happen right here.
Yeah.
And so I only read that one because I read that this morning for some reason, and it really stuck with me. And then this conversation comes back up around, and I go, look, I do believe that sometimes we fall into sin when we worship worry. Or we worship fear, when it will keep us from doing something, opposed to saying, "God, open my eyes and let me see that you have this covered so I may walk boldly and do this thing, even though my failing human heart and body, I'm not handling this well. But I know you got it because you told me to go. So here, let's go."
So you're saying that the sin is not the fear or the worry. Or what was the topic?
Yes.
it's what happens as a result of, or what doesn't happen
Yeah,
as a result.
like the reaction
of-
to
so
it.
That's probably why she says we don't think you don't know you're sinning.
Right.
Yeah,
But
it's just underneath the skin there. It's like, yeah, okay.
So we're just being careful here to like we talked about this when we were talking about pharisaical type behavior when it comes to like with that Chandler article we talked about, right? Like we set up fences in your life to keep you from approaching sin, and it's not a sin to hit that fence.
Right.
Like it's a sin to plow through the fence, but when you hit the fence and go, "Whoa, I'm getting really close to where I don't want to be. I'm going to bounce." That's just right reaction. That's the fence doing its job, right? No one needs to be mad, upset, down on themselves, or beg repentance because you ran into a fence. That's why you put up the fence.
Yeah.
So like I struggle only because some of the implications of what she's trying to say actually adds an unnecessary burden on you that Jesus is not putting on you.
Right.
Yeah. He's more saying, "Let me help you.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
So don't worry.
That's
Don't
right.
fear."
That's
Also-
I will carry the yoke, right?
Yeah,
My
yeah,
yoke
yeah.
is light,
Yeah.
right? Not put more yoke on you so I can go, ha ha, I told you the yoke's heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want as a guy. Like if you're struggling with anxiousness and worry, is to start getting on a spin on being anxious and worried about having a problem with anxiousness and worried.
Right.
Like as opposed to clinging to Jesus to help resolve. Now there's a sense of guilt and all the other things associated with the presence of them, and I think that's misunderstood.
My son-in-law tomorrow is going to the application process of being an officer, police officer, and he's currently an MP in the Marines. He's well qualified.
Yep.
He's physically fit. Matter of fact, he's in an elite group with the Marines. All these things you could say. I'm looking at the situation, going, dude. It's a slam dunk. Not only are they desperate, but it's like, duh. He is absolutely all just wound up like, oh no, I've got to take this test, and we're like, relax, you're smart.
Right.
You know this,
Yeah.
And he knows this,
Yeah.
but he's all he's just very, he's dreamt his whole life for this,
Yeah.
So it's like it's a big moment for him, and yeah, so I don't think he's sinning, but I can understand.
Yes.
But hey, enjoy the process, relax, get a good night's sleep, go do your thing, just be you, go be
Yep.
you, and.
Mike, can we start a cheesy Christian band called Chariots of Jesus Fire?
You're darn right. We can.
Yes. Okay.
If it's not already taken.
What's the genre?
Yeah, Mike, we Google that real quick, just double check.
Yeah, I'm on.
Is that a grunge or is
I
that
heard you
a-
say Chariots of Jesus Fire. I'm like, that sounds awesome. Can we
Yeah.
go back to 1992?
Is that
and
We're
sing
either
some
doing
songs
that or we're going to call our
classic
band
praise
Scansion.
music?
Scansion.
No, it's fully We Are Scansion.
Actually, sorry, quick diversion. So Dan, before the show, was looking at this custom Monopoly board.
Yes.
And so it just made me think about, like, the card that sends you directly to jail should have, like, a chariot of fire on it. Except it can't be jail, right? Go to heaven, go directly to heaven. But then you get kicked out because I don't know. I gotta think
work
about
this
it some
up.
more.
Yeah.
But if you have any thoughts, if you were to say, I don't want some general Jesus board, all right? This is for elite show listeners only.
Yeah.
But if you're a show listener and you say, here's my ideas for this live from the LFTP-opoly. Okay, I want you to call or text the
title.
complaint line 515-517-0085.
It's going to happen.
It's
Before
good.
Christmas.
Okay, so Dan's on a warpath here, so you got to get your ideas in
I've
quickly.
got one goal in life. That's it.
That's it. Soon as he's on it, he's
That
committed.
hat and Monopoly.
Well, I got the hat. That's done.
Check. Oh, boy.
I'm getting comfortable now.
I got one more to do.
project.
I'm here to kick tail and take names, and I'm done taking names. Dan's version is, I'm here to buy sweet hats and make custom Monopoly board, and the hat is
And the hat is on me.
So 515-517-0085. So like this is space options, chance and community chest. I assume that you don't get to change the contents, but like maybe what you
I think you do.
Like the cards
property
themselves?
names. Oh, I don't know.
yeah probably. Well, I suppose they'd have to match the properties
yeah,
though.
True. And I don't know. Do you? Hopefully, we get to make our own little token
Custom
people,
pieces.
You know?
Say we're all miniatures.
Yeah. I want to be a centaur. Always
be a
have
Peter
wanted.
guy.
I've always wanted to
Peter.
be a centaur. Chariots of Jesus
I'll be a
Fire is
three-legged
available
dog.
Yes, it is.
for a band name.
What is it?
Chariots of Jesus Fire is available.
Yeah.
Our first album is I've Always Wanted to Be a Centaur.
I'm going to secure your website, chariotsofjesusfire.govnetcom.us.
Yeah.
.org.
Song 1, Diary of a Centaur Sinner.
I
I'm
still
just
wanna know the
imagining
genre,
people
though.
making those domain names the same way that like old people make Facebook accounts, where their tagline is like spaghetti sauce, and it's the full recipe for their spaghetti sauce, where they were supposed to put like "in love with Jesus" or something like that. Just pasta. It's like Ethel. That's not where you're supposed to put that. Oh man, this is the best.
All right. Let's see. So the next one was gluttony. We often associate gluttony. This is hidden sins. All right, sins you may not even know you're committing.
Something wrong with Boo's camera.
Can't hear it.
I've been all right on these first three, but I'm really worried about this number 4. I'm being
now-
real honest with you, Rob.
Now hold on.
Do we have a
If
definition?
this is just underneath the skin, it's perfect.
Don't get your oddly shaped
worry
round
about
face
it.
in a button. We often associate gluttony with weight and food, but it's so much bigger than just that.
Bigger? Really? I
It's
see what you're saying
ginormous.
here. Lisa Show, or whoever the author was. Sorry, go ahead.
All right. It's so much more big boned than that. Gluttony is truly a condition of the heart. When we are gluttonous,
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
Oh, this couldn't have been worded worse.
when we are
Let's chew the fat a minute.
when we are
He's
gluttonous,
really done this poorly.
Oh, man. It's all hidden. It's so great.
this is how I know it's AI. The machines are coming back at us. Stupid human. They'll never know that I think they're overweight. All of them. When we are gluttonous, we try to find everything we can to fill the void that God is supposed to fulfill. This takes our focus away from Jesus, the one we truly need. Now, I do think this actually blends with what we were talking about on the 2 ago, which is basically I choose me. As opposed to choosing something good that God said this is the good way to go about it, we deal with it in other ways. I've told you, like, it doesn't reflect necessarily but like I'm a I have a problem with gas stations. Like I just, or just saying, hey, I want something. I have the money. I have the vehicle. I have the flexibility. I'll go make this happen. Like there's a gluttony to that. There's an indulgence that I think that, like, you could look at it from a worldly perspective and go, I mean, you can, so why not? But then there's a lack of restraint in those types of things that I think is, like, can be sinful, because you basically said, I'm going to do what I want when I want, and even the posturing to the world and to God that way, I think, is dangerous.
And also, the word gluttony, like, that's a Catholic thing, isn't it? Like,
Yeah,
that's
is that one of the seven deadly sins? Yeah, that's
And
what I was thinking.
The concept of gluttony is so, like, broad in its actual description. It's like
It's in
too much
Scripture, though.
sleep, or too little sleep, or
Yes.
too much food, or not eating enough, or dining too often and stuff like that. Like, we really do just make gluttony be like, oh, you shouldn't eat as much there, buddy. It's like, no, the Catholic description of gluttony is all over the place.
That's
but the
right.
core problem is where it's at, is it's taking something that should be given to God and using your own means, whether that is through food is the most often description of it, as a coping mechanism for the way that this life is, rather than running to God. It's the creation of idols in your life other than God, because those are your coping mechanisms. Those are your defenses against what is actually happening. So rather than running to Him to have Him be your foundation, you are selfishly and in your own way creating your own foundation that is fickle and is sand. And that's what I see gluttony as.
Yeah. Made me think of that, like, restraint or prudence is like an implicit fast. It's an implicit means of saying, like, in any given thing that God created for good, you may overindulge and use for wrong. And by cutting that off, like, it creates a space that says, I'm not going to do that in honor of what God created for good, or knowing that, like, there are people that are going without, and here I am swimming in donuts or whatever I'm doing, or sleep or something, whatever it is. And so, like, thinking of that restraint as it almost as an offering and as a fast of sorts, a partial fast, to, without making it overly holy, but just think of it that way. I'm not saying no because I have to. I'm just saying no because I should, and because God prescribed I should, and so I'm going to, and I'm reminded of that when I say no, and it creates a moment between you and God where you say, I can offer this. I can offer my restraint here.
Yep.
I'd have to vet that out fully, but, like, it's a way to look at it that feels like there's value to it.
Yeah. I've always fasted partial fast for my children for each semester of school that they're in, and I'll change it up each time. Okay. So, like, we're getting toward the end now. they're both getting doctorate degrees, right? So it's been a long journey, right?
Yep.
Long. Just you
It's a
guys
lot of-
graduate. No.
Couldn't
Giving
you-
up gum so many times.
I only say that because this last I'm like really going at it this time. Like I'm
Yeah.
going at it extreme. Like it's like there's no bread, no noodles, no rice, no beans, no corn, no sweets. I don't know, it's a whole list of stuff like
Wow.
Yep.
like everything. I'm like, but here's the deal. I say that because it sounds really impressive, but I have a gluttonous heart, right? I always find a loophole. Every one of these fasts, I'll find something that I allow, and I'll overdo it.
Yeah.
I started this fast in the I guess it was really January, and I started eating onion rings because they're vegetables. And I ate them every day, literally. And I did that for about 6 weeks. I said, dude, you're going to kill yourself in your gluttony.
On over.
Right.
Getting rid of all kinds of unhealthy things.
Yep.
And so then I had to give up all fried foods. Because I'm doing this to control, because that's where I go. I'll go. That's my happy place. Any kind of food. I mean,
Yep.
and so I'm just, the point being that you can, you're so spiritual, you're fasting. No, I'm a glutton. And I'm going after onion rings.
Right.
Right. And I'm a creative one at that. So
Yeah.
My kick right now is yogurt. At least it's yogurt. You know?
To piggyback on that, I did a David fast once, or a Daniel fast, excuse me, and went to I ate lentils and beans and rice every day, and that was roughly it. And I allowed myself to make unleavened bread.
Yeah.
And that was the thing I did. Dude, I had a KitchenAid stand that was running probably 4 hours a day. Making certain that I had all the unleavened dough I could possibly have. And I am not even kidding, man. I remember my roommate was like, "You're gonna hurt yourself with this." I'm like, "Dude, I'm trying to focus on Christ with this."
Yeah.
And I really did start that, trying to have
Yeah.
good intentions on it. I'm like, I've never done the full on here because food has been such a contaminant for me. And I was like, man, I'm super excited to do this. In the first couple of days, my Instant Pot was going like crazy because I was making all the bowls of rice and
Yep.
lentils and beans and
Yep.
barely vegetable, right? And my roommate finally, after a week, I had probably paper towel stacks of unleavened bread that I had fried in olive oil. Right? Not fried, but pan-seared in olive oil.
Yeah.
I had this stack. And he came out one morning as I'm sitting there, and I'm ghost white, eating unleavened bread over the sink. And he's looking at me.
I'm fasting.
He goes, "What are you doing, man?" I go, "I'm so hungry. My stomach hurts so bad, and I've had nothing but rice and beans and unleavened bread." I looked like the worst nightmare of a guy that was eating pita in the world. As I'm just sitting there, "This is all I have. This is all I have."
don't take this from me.
Lord, please don't rewrite Daniel or something to where I have to give this up. This is all I have. It's absolutely ridiculous. I probably gave it 48 hours of man, I'm really going to focus on Christ and pray through this, and this is an awesome experience because I'm really truthfully in restraint here to go, this is for you, and focused on it. But after hour 48, I'm my focus is no longer on you, Lord.
The
My
Lord has left me.
yeah, straight up. The Lord, why have you forsaken me, Lord?
Oh, I got stacks of pita bread.
No one, barely anyone can pronounce quinoa unless people want to eat it. This is ridiculous. Get me out of here. Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack that, but that just, I learned a couple good recipes to quickly spice up some unleavened bread to make it tasty. And every once in a while, my wife now asks for it because I got really, really good at making it.
In fact, it's a source of pride for me.
Yeah, it turned into, man, Lord, I remember when I felt like you didn't do this for me, but I really learned how to make a
I
pita.
found my way out.
Came through.
Guess how I'm awesome on the other side of this.
Could we do 2 Passovers a year? I'm really good at this.
All you got to do is you add a couple herbs to the batch, and it's just fantastic.
Okay, the next one, apathy. We Christians often fall into the trap of taking God's love for granted. As a result of this, we lose the passion we once had, look at that guy, had regarding our relationship with God, and we began to take his love for granted. Spiritual apathy, coldness, or indifference can affect even the most sincere Christian. Sometimes these feelings can replace the fervor we once felt for the things of God. If we lack this passion when it comes to our own personal relationship with God, how can we expect to enroll others into having a relationship with God? Enroll others? It just seems like a weird way to put it, doesn't it?
Are you here for the life-saving grace?
We have 4 openings.
First and last name.
There's some real scansion to that, to be honest with you.
Let's see here. One major cause of spiritual apathy is sin in a believer's life. When David sinned, he felt disconnected from God.
What a circular argument.
Yeah.
You know what's causing that sin of yours? That sin of yours.
I think I smell sin in here. Sinner.
Must be because of the sin.
As he confessed his sin to God, David prayed for God to renew a steadfast spirit within him and requested, "Restore me to the joy of your salvation and grant me a willing spirit to sustain me." A believer who feels spiritually apathetic should confess any known sin and ask for God's cleansing and renewal.
Now, the end of that, yeah.
Yeah.
But the apathy is a symptom of the sin. In a lot, and not in every situation, but in a lot of ways, that spiritual apathy that you're feeling is you being separated from God because you have unrepentant sin in your life that you're not trying to bring to Him.
Right.
And if that's the point.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. God does not live in the same space as sin. It's separation, and so you're living in that separation. Fix it, and that apathy will start to dissolve and go away, and you will find yourself impassioned again.
Yeah.
But the apathy isn't the sin.
Right.
It is symptomatic of sin.
Yeah, or a
source.
or a recognition
Oh,
of
you're right.
of separation. Yeah,
Right, yeah.
right. Yeah. We got something on the complaint line for an idea.
Oh, nice.
It was
Monopoly.
probably Mike.
It was not Mike. Okay, the suggestion 1: swap out Boardwalk for Johnston proper.
Yes.
That's a good idea.
That's a great idea.
Awesome.
Okay. Number 2, a community chest idea. The when you open up the card, the text is "Whiz bang, it's the Bahamas." Receive a randomly assigned $100, which was a Mike quote. Whiz bang, it's the
That's
Bahamas.
great. Whiz bang, it's the Bahamas.
Yeah, these are good ideas.
Oh, this is great. Yeah,
These are
keep
good
those
ideas.
coming.
Yeah, that's 515-517-0085. What's your live LFTPopoly idea?
Oh, man.
This is great.
That's great. Whiz bang, it's Bahamas.
Okay. Oh, is that the last one?
No,
I was that
there's
pathetic about
5,
that.
weren't there? Or 6, weren't there?
Hold on.
you skipped lying.
Oh, lying. Here we go.
Oh, convenient.
Finally.
Okay,
Finally.
hold on. I'm ready to argue this first sentence. Go ahead, Ben.
Too often, we think that lying is acceptable as long as nobody knows that we committed the lie.
Yeah, a cursory reading of the Bible
Pretty cursory, actually.
will make it pretty obvious that that's just flat out not true.
Now,
As long as you're not caught, you're good.
The Lord's cool with white lies and ones that go under the radar, right?
yeah,
It's only a fair if they know it.
man.
that's right. Thou shalt not bear false witness if people will find out about it.
I mean, can you imagine just going up to heaven and Jesus goes, "But the lying," you're like, "I got to plead the fifth on this one. I had no idea."
Yeah.
No clue you didn't like
you tell
that.
me who you
I mean,
heard
you
that
should
from?
write this stuff down.
You know, it'd be really convenient. Could you give us like a top 10 by chance of like things that I'm not supposed to do, so I can kind of just North Star on that by chance?
I know you think I lied to my friend Blaine, but he died like 5 years ago, and you ask him, did he know that I lied?
And then you hear Blaine on the other side of the gates. "Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, the whole time.
You're a liar."
You're not as sly as you think you are.
Yeah, shut up, Blaine.
That's not him, Lord.
I don't,
A lie.
I don't have to shut up. It's heaven. I get to say what I want. The more we lie, the less weight we think these lies hold. Who are these Christians this guy knows?
They're not trying very hard.
Yeah, here's what I'm going to tell you. The takeaway of this article is this person needs better friends and church community.
I feel like this person should read the Bible.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
like iron sharpens pasta over his place.
And Dan can't have that.
Thanks.
Why you gotta tempt him? No, he's gotta get some onion rings.
Yeah, I told a lie, but they didn't know. I bet that'll fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's pray.
Yeah. Hey, man, this sin is weighing heavy on me. What should I do? Lie more.
Yeah.
Lie more. The weight will go away.
It'll loosen up.
Get yourself out of this hole you're
You
in.
know what really
better
gets
about
rid
it.
of the weight of lying? Doing it more often. It feels great. You
Let's
know who
see.
doesn't get into heaven? Compulsive liars.
As Christians, we are set apart by our love and commitment to Christ. We are called to live up to a higher standard. What makes these... Oh, here's the end. What makes these 6 sins so detrimental is the fact that so many of us don't even realize we're committing them or believe these sins don't carry the same power of other sins.
Okay, I'm guilty of that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evidently. Oh, there's no sin. We're good.
Yeah, I completely said the opposite of what they said.
Man, we stepped on that one.
I don't want this person as my friend.
Yeah. Here we go, Mike. However, this couldn't be further from the truth.
Here comes the pasta.
These sins sabotage our ability to disciple to others. I mean, but when you say, like, if they were real sins, when you start with, these sins are destroying me and my relationship from the Lord, and in addition to that, also make me an ineffective
Right.
witness and uncompelling.
God burned 2,000 pages, didn't say this. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Ooh, hey, the definition of sin in the Bible are not simply arbitrary do's and dawn apostrophe TS. Dawns. I love this.
What?
Don't do that. Noted.
Yeah.
You are like my wife, who does not have the ability to read beyond spelling
can't
errors.
say
Is it like DAWN apostrophe TS?
No, it's DON apostrophe TS. Like don'ts.
Like donuts is in there. He's
Yeah.
missing the
Oh,
U.
okay.
They abbreviated the U.
No,
My
but-
wife will be reading something, and she'll like stop, like, I don't know what this is. Well, obviously don't.
That's true. We've been on this for 10 plus years. Every
You and
time Ben
Ben.
sees something, every
in
time
the
he reads an
reading
article, unnecessary colon.
yeah,
Actually, that should be one of the spaces. Is unnecessary colon.
Jail.
go back 3 steps.
yeah.
Do not collect money. Go straight to
Pay your
unnecessary
property
colon.
tax.
That's right. Let's see here. Instead, they show us. Okay, the definitions of sin are not simply arbitrary do's and don'ts. Instead, they show us the spiritual principles by which God lives, the same standard of conduct He expects us to live by. Christ's teachings help us to understand why it is a sin not to do what we know we should do. It really comes down to whose will is more important in the lives of those in the church. Is it our will, doing what we want, or is it God's will, doing what He thinks is most important? Yes, okay, we agreed with that part. Mm-hmm. That was our basic statement. But like again, the posturing of the article treats God as if His primary role in your life is the warden.
Right.
Like this is not. I've not been rescued by the design and sovereignty of God the Father. I am kept constrained by God the Warden, and I think that's where these misunderstandings come from. Is that we miss out on a relationship with a good Father, and instead go, if I worry at all, He's going to be mad.
Yeah.
I'm like what? And I would hate for my kid to think that. And so like
Yeah, that doesn't align with the character of God or the way that He's set this up at all.
yeah, right.
This whole article feels like it's like, hey, man, we really wanted to make brownies, and we put them into the oven. They're not quite done yet, but at least it's still brownie batter. It's like, no, that really wasn't what we were looking for. This is like a half-baked
I mean,
situation.
it worked though because we're like, hey man, well, I don't want to be committing no mystery sin. What the heck?
Oh, yeah, I agree. The smell was there
Suck
because
that
it smelled like brownies in the oven. But
That's
then we
right.
got there, and it was all gloopy.
That's right.
I mean, when they say work out your faith with fear and trembling, God goes, whoa, got you on that one. Don't be afraid. But tremble.
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Oh, no fear. That's a problem, buddy.
Okay. All right. Well, if you have any feedback for the article, you go to beliefnet.com. And, here, hold on.
/org.
Leslie White, otherwise known as The Lisa Show, is a graduate
It's her.
a graduate of Virginia Commonwealth. Like the whole Commonwealth? Like the state?
Congratulations.
Man, Commonwealths suck.
Now, here's the deal.
I wouldn't want to be a graduate of a Commonwealth.
When
They suck.
you're a graduate of a town or property, that means they kicked you out of it. Right? Like,
I
you're
graduated
graduating.
Altoona.
See ya. Get out of the town.
Go ahead and
Yeah,
go
we
to
really like
Minnesota.
you. Go ahead and prophesy on another day. Wait, so Leslie is the Lisa Show?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
That's how we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I dig it. She's,
now that
she's
seems
probably
like a
loving this
sin.
publicity.
She's probably got me
Is
on that
it
one.
alive? You don't really know? You're just making stuff
Right?
up?
Yeah.
Lisa will never know that we're talking about her like this.
Wild speculation.
The Dan thinks she's a cartoon.
I was thinking here, no joke. What I
I
thought,
know it's the angle.
you know what I was. This is wrong, probably, but what I was hoping
Most likely.
for is like you think about Moses trying to caravan his kid across the border without being circumcised, and I was kind of hoping for things like that. You're like, hey, you may not even know it, but like you cut that big toe off. That's wrong. It's a frailty against the Lord. Did you not read Numbers 16?
Yeah.
And I feel like, well, shoot, man, I've been clipping that nail all gangbusters in the service of the Lord for the glory of myself. And so,
I've been
like,
clipping that nail all gangbusters.
I was just going to wait it out and then not say anything. And then amateur Buva comes in and repeats it. And here we are, still spitting yarn.
Oh, yeah. That's totally something I do and nothing you've done before on many occasions.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. Funniest thing I ever said on Facebook. It said, I manage my toenails like I manage my fantasy football team like I manage my toenails. I let things go on way too long and then go in and start cleaning house.
Yeah, I bet your wife was like, ooh.
Yeah, I bet that got a few likes on that. Like,
Hey,
gross.
that was
Yeah, like anytime you
Didn't
make a
happen if there's
remark
no
about
pictures.
earwax or boogers, no one laughs at that because they don't want to be involved with
Yeah,
it.
they
You're the
do.
5-year-old kid that farts and thinks it's hysterical, and then everybody else around you is like gross, and you're like, yeah, but you knew it was funny.
Yeah, who tugboated in here?
A tugboat.
Dude, my 4-year-old is totally doing this. He's in a house full of women, this guy, and he's constantly coming in and like floating the surf and then looking around like he's got it for sale. He's just like, hey, yeah.
Did you catch that?
Who loves it? Who's in?
I'm laughing so good because he's so innocent about it. He's like, yeah, he really delivered the goods here.
How impressed is everyone here?
He's probably got a year where I really got to put it into it, but it's so funny right now. Yeah, he's got his eyebrow raised like the Rock, like he doesn't even know. He's such a goofball. Okay.
He's his dad's kid.
You've been listening to Live from the Path. You feel like this is a real waste of your time. I'd ask why your discernment didn't kick in 20 minutes ago. This seems like
20.
a personal problem.
Have no fear.
Sin.
Okay, so that's the Live from the Path complaint line, 515-517-0085. Call or text. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, boy, I wonder if we should almost wait on this, Mike.
No, let's burn it.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so thread. This was a thread, and this person says, I'll just read it. For those that don't know me from TikTok, go ahead, Dan.
I don't know her.
Oh,
Dan, you usually go TikTok.
I thought. It was
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking. Just today, I thought I should maybe download the TikTok. But I haven't.
So I
He
searched.
put that in the last 24 hours. He put that hat on and then said, I really think I should download the
People on
TikTok.
TikTok need to see this hat.
What a day.
The
Dan.
TikTokNet.com.
What a day.
This is a victory. Right here, victory.
You are making moves.
You're being
3
re-
boxes.
you're being
This
recruited
hat
by the
on
old
the
folks
head.
home.
Get on the TikTok and make a Monopoly board.
That would be awesome. They're sending him admissions letters from the old folks home. Like, hey, we'd really like you to come to our place. We're willing to offer you $500 off scholarship. Just come.
I'll tell you this. I'm not going to stand for this. I'm actually for everything Dan has been saying today. I don't know if there's something. I had a weird day or whatever, but like I feel like Dan is spitting fire. I think he makes good life choices. I think it takes a real man to wear a hat like that, and I'm for what he's talking about.
It's the yogurt.
And he redeems it with that.
Yeah. And
It
I'm
really
regular.
is that yogurt
like a
and lack of
clock.
onion rings that in my life that's
Okay. Fire it.
Okay, she says, for those that don't know me from TikTok, here's a bit of my story. I was raised by evangelical parents who became pastors when I was about 8, both of them at the same time. Red flag. I was homeschooled up until I went to college. Thanks to Joshua Harris's book, I Kissed Dating Goodbye, I was married at 19. Thanks to a little streak of bravery that would only grow over the years, I escaped from that toxic relationship at 20. That was like a year. My pastor dad declared an annulment as he was worried about my reputation. It was a divorce. After that, I tried to find my footing again and started attending an inner-city megachurch offshoot geared towards 20-somethings. I was going to make my religion a true relationship with God. I got married again at 22 because God doesn't use women unless they're married, and moved out to L.A. with my entire family. My parents authored several books on dominionism / Seven Mountain Theology, hence us being in L.A. to influence. Mike, you want to look that up?
Yeah.
I have no
Dominionism?
clue what those things are.
Seven Mountain Theology?
Okay.
I started making friends with people that believed differently than me, lived lifestyles, in quotes, I had been taught to fear, and yet they were the most loving people. This quickly started progressing my political and social views, cue me campaigning for Bernie. Right around the same time, Trump was running for president. My dad had a dream that he won, and I watched my family go from a steady move toward being progressive, they were supportive of BLM, marriage equality, etc., to a steady decline as their ministry became more popular with every ounce of support they gave Trump. Meanwhile, my marriage was bad, my anxiety was killing me, my attempts to have a relationship with God felt very one-sided. I decided I needed to do more, so my husband and I moved to Redding, California to go to Bethel's Supernatural School of Ministry. Sounds like Hogwarts. I was immediately thrown into the spotlight and cast as one of their worship leaders. The spiritual abuse, gaslighting, and dead silence from God while I was giving all but my blood put me in a truly dark place. I was also learning more about the Bible than ever before, studying other religions and reading books on science. I was losing reasons to believe. I spent days crying out to God, and there was nothing. I woke up one morning and realized I don't believe there's a God at all, and felt a freedom I'd never felt in my life. I bought a one-way ticket back to the East Coast, packed one suitcase, left the next day, and never went back. That was 6 years ago. My family's ministry is now more successful than ever. They are deep into Q conspiracies. My sister and their husbands work full-time for them as well, and here I am, the atheist activist, aka prodigal child, being influenced by the devil. Feeling the peace, joy, and content I was promised as a Christian now that I've addressed my religious trauma, embraced my full authentic self, and found a really good therapist. I do what I do now in hopes that it helps others feeling trapped. In the darkness I once tried to make a home in hopes that someone will feel their questioning is valid, in hopes that they will see I am unscathed by lightning despite my blasphemy. There's freedom and happiness on the other side.
Okay, first of all, dominionism is basically a Christian political society. So the whole society is ran by Christianity, building a government based on Christian.
It's like Sharia law. So it's like Islam,
Pretty much.
except for Christianity.
Yeah, and then
I had not heard of that.
the seven mountain theology or the seven mountain mandate appears to be associated with like the seven mountains or the seven spheres of social hierarchy, and Christians invading that or being in that space, or I don't know.
Interesting.
Weird.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Okay, so at first swipe, I think you can totally feel where she's coming
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'm so sorry.
yeah.
My heart breaks at that, man.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing: is like by the time you read, even just by checking out dominionism, I'm like, oh man, these things aren't pointing to Jesus; these are pointing to governors or governments or
It's all about power, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
power,
right.
like
Church
political
power,
people
political
power.
Right.
social
Well,
power.
heck, that's a great insight, Dan. Because like every place where she hit a rub point was a power grab of some
Yeah.
sort, influenced by her parents. Like even covering up a divorce or something is an attempt to obfuscate, to retain a position or to
Right.
retain hers. Like it's a false sense of who we are and an attempt to make use of some worldly power or another. That's a good insight.
You know what I will say though, one of the things that I I really appreciated and attached to there is the statement that she had made of because God can't use a woman unless she's married, right? Those young mega church feelings and the way that they create small groups of like that's absolutely true in the way that they make it feel. I have friends who have been involved in those kind of places, and I've gone to those small groups and listened to that stuff. The way that they talk about dating is terrifying. Like it's just flat out weird, and it's like the counseling that happens and the relationships are like manicured and developed within the small group of like, hey, I know you have the hots for Chelsea. You can't do that until I say it's okay, because I've been talking to the Lord about that. And when the Lord says it's okay, he'll tell me, and then I'll tell you to pursue her.
Yeah, right.
And then it develops into this like inner like marriage that happens between these like small subsects of this stuff, and it really turns into like when your ministry can start when the Lord has told me you can date that person, and then the two of you can court very quickly, get married as soon as possible, so that you can start your ministry. It's weird. And so there's yet another situation where someone is lording over there where they're not having authority, and has broken down something that the Lord has made to be beautiful, and has turned it into, I have power over you through this, because this larger establishment has allowed me to be a leader here.
In that case, that's like discipleship out of control.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because that's like a conservative way.
Yeah, it's all of these things. I will be told by the Lord when you're ready, and you haven't prayed long enough. And the fact that you want to go on a date with her means that you're not listening to me and you're not listening to God. And it's like, what? Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what's so weird? Like I'm not when I say conflicted, it gives a false impression that it's like a 50-50 conflict. But like, there was certainly a time where I think there was an attempt to reclaim like childish men. And which I think was right. I think we lost what it was to not be just a complete doofus of a fella.
Yeah.
But like, as humans tend to do, and church expression of humanity certainly like runs a risk of doing, is like you overcooked the fish. Like as opposed to calling men up to be more responsible humans, and to live in the way that God has otherwise instructed them to do, somehow it became a restriction on a woman to not get in his way with it, right? Or to otherwise say, look, like this is not an autonomous person that God has created in His image and likeness. That I may to the consternation of some belief portions, believe that God has uniquenesses in these groups of folks, but not that it otherwise excludes one the other, or that makes somebody incompetent or incapable of living a fulfilling life following Jesus. I'll tell you this, actually, I suppose this is either here nor there, but like there's the last commentary, the Ruth commentary that I used, was written by a lady named Karen Jobes. It is one of the best commentaries I've ever read. She just does such a fantastic job. And like women writing like biblical commentaries, especially it's from a more conservative interpretation. There just aren't a ton. And like I remember, and so I just hadn't come across very many. I didn't order it because she was a lady. It was well reviewed. People had spoken very highly of it. And after having used this commentary, it made me think that like she had insights and ways of dealing with the text that like most commentary writers are just so dry. And like it didn't have to be because she's a woman, but like it was an excellent commentary. She did such a great job here, and like it just felt a little bit different.
Right.
And so, and that's the thing, is that like granted, there's right ways to think about men and women that I think are biblically solid, but like some of these arbitrary ways of which we've gone about things would say, oh, that lady shouldn't write a commentary. I'm like, what's hot garbage? This is great. She did such a great job. Right. I was so impressed. I tried to find her so I could say this was such a, like, I enjoyed it. Usually I don't enjoy it, Dan. I don't know if you come across commentaries like, oh, I really enjoy this. Not very many.
Not very often.
So, but anyway, so long story short, I think they overcooked a fish, right? And as if it was the cost, it should cost ladies something to try to put together a decent fella. Yeah. Well, that's dumb.
Yeah,
we get to do both. So
I think. Go ahead, Dan.
I would say it seems like this woman's whole journey has been involved with highly surfacey, emotionally driven doctrine, as opposed to solid doctrine the Scripture, provides for us.
Yeah,
and that will always leave you wanting. That will always come up empty. And when you're allowing your emotions to drive you, and then you make poor choices, then the people above you who are creating these emotional driven doctrines have to just, we'll call it an annulment. It's like, who gave you that authority to do that? Right. Well, the best.
Yeah, to save face for me.
Exactly. So there's the power struggles and the lack of genuine doctrine, which is different than what you were saying, because I know the church you're talking about. Right. They're a solid Bible church.
Right.
Not shallow and not emotional, but either way, we can get so. My approach to ministry has always been, my goal is to provide sound doctrine and then let people struggle through their decisions. Because they always come and want help. Should I marry this person? I can't tell you that. And they get a little disappointed, or you're just a dummy, whatever. It's like, you have to struggle through this. I can't tell you. Otherwise they end up with these poor choices that she mentions. I mean, you still can make poor choices, but that seems to be lacking in both the situations you guys mentioned. That you're not allowing people to develop their own roots and their own growth and their own relationship with God.
That's right. Or what it looks like to listen to God on your own, as opposed to saying like God. He put no king in Israel initially for a reason, and they wanted one anyway. And like we're still trying to replace this. Like I have a relationship with God, which I think we need to answer to her, because I think one of her maybe critique's not the way to put it, but like to go through all this, and if she's personally seeking an interaction with God and isn't finding it, I think it's a totally fair question to ask. Like, God, where are you? If people are manipulating the church, if they're manipulating your doctrine, where is God, and why is He allowing this to go on? Yeah, sorry, Mike. If you can
No, I was just gonna say, like the brand's, the sad part of this is like the opening gambit is like, my parents became evangelical pastors when I was 8. The truth of the matter is, no, they did not. They put me through this Christian upbringing. No, they did not. Like like the way that you describe, your parents are not Christians, right? Like, because like Christianity is following Jesus, and that is, none of that is what happened. And so what it turned out to be is like where, she reads into it and goes, this is what Christianity was offering. That's completely not true. This is what your parents were offering, and they're not Christians.
They were entrepreneurs.
That's correct. Right. And so like, the choice was, well, if this is what Christianity's offering, then I guess that I'm out. and like I can totally understand that from her perspective, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
But the reality is the Lord opened their eyes so they can see the reality. The reality is your parents aren't Christians. That you didn't actually attend a church of people who are following Jesus at all, and so like Christianity or following Jesus didn't actually let you down. Now I was caught up on the same thing where she cried out to God for answers. Now I have a couple things in my head, and I can't speak to like directly what happened, but like if my interactions with God would hold true here, that like God answers when you want the answer, right? Like I've prayed for God to like, and everybody's done this, right? Like you have people in your lives that like they're a broken mess, and you're like, God, would you just show up? Would you just show up and turn them today, fix it? And God goes, I could, but it won't do what you think it's going to do, right? Because I'm God and I see everything. I know what's going to happen here, right? And so like I will show up when it brings the most joy and the most glory, and it will do exactly what I say it will do. And don't ever worry. Everyone gets a chance. Everyone gets the option at grace. And it will, even though she'd been lied to her entire life, God is not done showing grace and opportunity for her to come near to him. And like, I don't know what that looks like for her, but he does. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I really hate hearing where someone says, I cried out to God, but what I do know is like, if you in earnest wanted God to show up, he would. And it would do what you were honestly asking for, his interaction, or asking him to show who he is, or what is wrong, or what is right, or whatever. I don't know a dad in the world that would not show up and do that.
Yeah, I think that's hard to take in though, because I would say from her perspective, like that's what I did.
Yeah.
Right.
I called out to God.
She hasn't been taught properly. The sound doctrine thing. She hasn't been taught properly how to listen. I mean, I'll bet you he was answering, but she didn't hear. She
One
didn't
thing
know.
that worries me in that is, I found myself in a place where I feel that God has called me to do something, whether it's like show up at a place and talk to somebody at the Aldi, right? Or like, talk to the guy that's across the street, or when he grabs a hold of my heart and says, hey, that's the person. Like, I feel like I've experienced that before. And I don't. There's times that I know in my heart, God's saying, hey man, I need you here because this is happening and you need to talk to this person. And I just go, but I'm scared.
I'm comfortable.
Or I'm uncomfortable and I'm going to feel weird about it, so I don't. And I wonder if she is in that place where there have been people that were supposed to talk to her in this like 20-year journey of all this different stuff.
Yeah.
And God's like, I need, this is my deal. I got somebody here in the middle of all this mess. And one person was supposed to go up and be like, hey, talk to me, because the Lord's telling me that you're in a wreck right now. And this is what's happening. And I'm not saying that her entire story is our fault and all that's different
Yeah,
stuff.
that would be the question: is God's effort so fickle?
No,
Right.
Well, here's what I would submit, and like once again, I can't speak 100% to it, right? But like most people have told me a story just like this. Leave out the part where God did actually answer, but it was not the answer you wanted.
Yeah.
It was a hard answer, like stay. You can't leave. You need to stay and refine
her.
through this process.
She is obviously an extremely talented musician. Was it Bethel she went to and became a worship leader?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not
cast
just
as
like
the worship
me.
leader.
They're not saying, well, you've got half a voice. Come on up, guy. I mean, she had
Can
to
you
be.
read a hymn?
right. So, and my point being is the church is famous, even like our church. I mean, we'll find someone who has something to offer and we'll bleed them dry. And so she was used and abused in a we want you to sing for us and be our monkey on stage.
Right.
And we do that, and even if we don't mean to, we do we got to have the best singers. We're gonna have we got
More people will
reputation,
listen if we have the best
we can sell
singers. So we got to milk
CDs,
that. Yeah.
People watching our videos, and you're fitting the bill, and so that will overpower your conversation of God's calling me to say you really need to step down from singing and look at your spiritual life because we need you singing. Can you do both?
Right.
Anyway, that's part of our error.
Yeah, and that's a good call out, because like if you look at places in her description of like major points of warning. So when your doctrine is tied to human success, And sometimes in the search of that, because we were talking about earlier, is some of those doctrines, like if the things that we say are going to happen don't happen, then you got to start kind of inventing and twisting doctrine to explain why.
Yeah.
Like it's difficult. Healings are a deal. They are happening. I think everyone in this room has either been part of or seen or something close to something like this happening. So like it's just they do, and so like. But I don't presume that it happens a lot. But there's ministries where like this is the whole focus. We're like, well, I'm going to say it. I'm going to speak this thing upon this thing. It's going to happen. And then when it doesn't happen, like now what? Either God's wrong or you're wacky. But no one wants to admit they're wacky, especially when it's their livelihood and when it sells the books and when it gets people coming to your things and attending your church. And so like humanness gets in there and perverts the whole show. Yep. And so like. There's a consequence to our self-aggrandizement here.
Right.
There's a consequence to selfish humanity taking something that God created for good and sustaining relationships with him and using it for their own power and glory. There are consequences to it, and not just like, oh, that guy will eventually be humbled. Like there are people who will miss Jesus or misunderstand him because of human sin. And like that makes me angry. Yeah. And here's the deal: it humbles me because it reminds me that I run a risk of that same barrier, right? As a Christian, as a pastor, like any perceived influence that you have, like you probably have more than you think, generally speaking. Like whatever, Dan, I don't know. We don't go home and look in the mirror and go, the people listen to me. I'm like, I can't believe they're paying attention, right? But people are, and people are watching your life, and people are taking. I mean, whatever. I've probably said things on our radio program that I should be more cautious about because of that. And so, like, it's very difficult. There should be a humility in that, but yet, like, what we see is power. Is people's attempts to grab power. To call the school of the supernatural or whatever. I'm sorry, that Hogwarts thing was like half-hearted, but like no joke. Like to presume that you're going to put any of that. It's a ironic contrast. Is the formality of being able to school you on something that is so far beyond your own natural ability. Yeah. Like the Spirit laughs at this, and yet here we are. Like I've got it in a bottle.
Well, Pentecost didn't happen until Peter graduated.
Right.
Okay, release the wind.
Damn good. I think
tongues of fire.
It just sets up, and we've seen this. And I know we talk. Maybe it's vaguely about this every once in a while, but like we've seen musicians come in here with the impression that like God has created me for this this thing, and then when it didn't happen, when they didn't find the earthly glory that they expected, like they no longer have a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
And like
you made me a promise.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, did he? Like, I don't.
Right.
There's a whole segment of the church out there that is driven by that.
Right.
And that's why it grieves me when I hear people go to this church or that church, and I think, not because I'm going to, competition or whatever, because you're not getting fed correctly.
Right. It's the theater of the miracle and the wow there. And it's like, wow, look how cool this is. We're going to say God's name every once in a while. We may read from the same Bible, but it is so centered and focused on our glory and the money that we can make and the numbers that we can pull in. Because, it's great that you're talking to a lot of people about Jesus, but if Jesus is focused on the one. Like, you're not better because you've got 30 million people watching your stream. Like, that's not sorry, I'm turning into a bit of a...
It's your disciple. You're making your own disciple.
Yes, exactly. It's right. And the focus is on you. Like you said, that self-aggrandizement of this is the important thing, is my glory and my honor. And everyone is looking at me and going, wow, God uses that person. And they may be saying his name, but they're looking at you, not him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
And she has been plagued by that for her entire Christian life of what we're calling it, and has been broken through this to the point of it breaks my heart when someone leaves, quote unquote, the church and then goes, I went to the people that I was taught to fear. That rips my heart out.
Oh, man.
When someone goes, I was taught to fear these lifestyles and these people.
And they accepted me.
This ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. The people that told you should fear those people because they don't align with what I'm telling you. That's not how God works.
That's right.
And that is not how God calls a relationship to be. He goes, no. Don't love them. Love them so much that they see me. Don't love them so much that you are or don't fear them and miss that point. You need to love them and see them with my eyes, not the eyes of the pastor that you're learning from the last 10 years that puts you on a stage because you are worth something to them.
That's so
you
hard,
need to
right?
see them
Because they
through
came to
my
faith
eyes.
there, right? Like it's when you grow up in an iffy family and you find out that other families aren't like that, and
Right.
you're like, what is this? You know what I'm saying? Like you just assume all families are like that, and you're like, forget family. I'm out.
Yes.
I'm out of family.
When you
right?
leave the church and find companionship and love and hope and joy and things like that in that lifestyle or whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter what lifestyle we're talking about here. It breaks my heart because of what the intention of the church is supposed to be is completely missed here. And it is that it's symptomatic of the self-aggrandizing church and the self-aggrandizing doctrine because it fears differing beliefs and it fears differing understands.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is that going back to the previous article? Is that's where I think fear is sinful. Like we should not be a people who's afraid that the world is going to make their way in. We should be people who fear that our lack of engagement with the world will allow them to persist without the love of Jesus.
Right.
That should be my fear. And like I was talking to a guy over the weekend. And he was asking about house churches and denominations and stuff. And I said, I think one of the places where we've got arbitrary separation within churches is we've split over what people believe. And some are major points of doctrine, some are not, but like some are major points of doctrine. But like where we agree on Jesus, the need for his rescue, and that he's the only one that can give it. If I agree with those two things, like shouldn't we be hugging a little bit closer?
Right.
Like, isn't it to say, as opposed to what it was, the end of Jude, it says, it's about deceit within the church. This is not worldly deceit. This is deceit within the church. And it says, you're going to be part of helping snatch folks out of the fire from being deceived. And so, like, there's hot button issues that are splitting major denominations right now. And I probably fall on the more offensive one, like of a personal belief, right? The more conservative side. But I'm going to tell you this. The splitting of groups of people who love and follow Jesus, when like that's not snatching from the fire, that's saying, oh well, let's have it go then.
Right.
We want to be more comfortable without that part intruding over here. Now I would say like it's something to sort out. I think there's technical challenges in there, but like I just the notion of we create separation where we probably need to run closer.
Yeah.
On things like this, because like don't I trust that the Holy Spirit's going to sort out, and two, don't I believe that like where we can agree that we're sinners and that Jesus is the answer to this question, that our worldly struggles can and will be sorted out, not by us calling corners and lack of shalom, but like saying let's run this thing together. And I know there's all kinds of risks to that, but like I feel like it's like God redeems that, not the separate corners.
I was totally talking to some fellas this weekend almost about the same thing. They were talking about denominations. And I'm like, do you know how embarrassing it's going to be when you get up to heaven and introduce yourself and say, I'm a Baptist? And Jesus goes, what's that?
What's Presbyterian?
What's that do?
John comes running in. He said, no, I'm a Baptist.
I'm the original.
Yeah, I don't know him.
I didn't baptize him.
You can't lie in heaven, John.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know, honestly,
I'm an Episcopal. Yeah, okay. Once again, I don't know what that is. So,
one of the interesting things that I found here is kind of quoting on the meta pieces of this is the very beginning of "You may know me from TikTok." There are a lot of people that are latching onto this. TikTok. There are so many people that are latching onto either from similar stories, maybe not that at that magnitude, but similar stories of churches that have broken them. And that have misrepresented a character of God through their own understanding versus trying to actually chomp through the Bible and find his identity in there. And this is the systemic thing that we have a church, or we have churches that are breaking people all over. And that millions of people are affected in this and are getting a misrepresented, quarter-baked representation of God that is this bully in the sky that doesn't care about anything but himself, and they are missing the true love that God has. And it truthfully, for the fourth time now, breaks my heart in this. Of this is symptomatic of that. And we have broken down into this giant mega corporation that it polarizes so strongly of you're either in or you're broken from.
Yeah, so but we had this conversation a month or so back where we're talking about like we like to blame the churches for that, but like half the time we're to blame from that. Because
yes.
a cursory reading of your Bible once
Right,
again
right.
shows you where things are getting out of whack.
Yeah, no, and none of that was meant to be like point over there at those guys.
Sure.
I'm involved in this too. I've misrepresented God in many ways because of my actions when I sin, and I still try and represent the name of God to people that I have hurt. And it pushes them further. I am 100% guilty.
And then
of
it's
this
our
also.
pride that escalates everything.
Yeah.
In every area, I'm going to now treat you differently from my pride because I'm going to stomp on you if you did that one thing
Yep.
and I didn't, but I did something else. But you
Yeah,
don't know,
right.
Right, exactly. Yeah, mine's just hidden.
churches mistreat preachers, preachers mistreat churches. It's just because we're human and we deal with pride.
Right.
And if we'd all start working on our souls and the spiritual disciplines and really walking with God, all that goes away. But we're in the middle of life.
Yes, exactly.
And we're human.
And power is just a hard thing not to be enticed by.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like
Literally our nature.
The thing that it just makes your human existence a heck of a lot easier when people are willing to like do something for you that you don't have to do yourself, to treat you with some sort of honor and respect. Like it's an entrapment of humanity, and like every pastor that's fallen. Every church scandal, the root of it is a lack of humility and some sort of misuse of power. Everything's a people problem.
Yep.
It's never once been a God problem.
It's always been a people problem. And like somebody said, like with the power or influence I can have over somebody, I'm going to have this extra relationship that's none of my business, and it's not, or I'm going to take this extra money, or I'm going to manipulate my book sales so people think that God is working through me. Like.
Yeah, let me stretch this story so it seems a little bit more crazy so that more people want to buy into it because it gives them more false hope through this.
Yes.
Rather than the true hope that I get through God.
Because then
Which
they
is,
come.
God's never needed a PR man for a reason. He's fine.
Right. But that pads my numbers. It all
exactly.
just feeds each other, and then you get caught in it. And
I think we've probably touched on this before, but like most of that stuff. I mean, it starts out well. It's well intended, and it even feels like. Oh, but I'm okay to stretch this a little bit because the ends justify the means. And that's we're a hard no on that. That's why we end every show saying like, be faithful in the means, God will handle the ends. Those aren't your burdens to carry. You got to get the everyday stuff right.
The response to this is super easy to go, man, the enemy really knows how to twist us. No, we are just very twisted already. Enemy doesn't need to make much moves. We are already that way in many ways, shape, or forms, and we'll take a hold of this. And if it is not pointed true north at God at all times and constantly check it back on and has accountability from other people who realize that they're screwed up and they're trying to follow a true north God, if it is not surrounded in that stuff, it will absolutely askew and mess up.
And this is in every size assembly.
Yes, everyone.
Whether you're 50 or 150 or 5,000.
Yep.
30 million.
We all struggle with the same sin.
Yes, that's right. And but just before we leave it, I do want to touch on the relationship pieces, the marriage pieces. And I think again for right caution is that if you think about and I'm struggling a little bit. This is a person, and so I'm trying not to talk about her as like a flat character.
Yeah.
But like if you think of all the interactions that she's listed, it touches almost every part of the major things of which we think about as our identity. The job that I have, my relationship with my family, my relationship with God, my relationships with the spouse. And like if all those things at some point or another felt like they were deceiving you, like they made promises that they didn't keep, and then at least from your perspective, you pled to God to say, look, if these things are deceiving me, then rescue it. Why won't you do anything? And that comes back and it feels like it's unanswered. Like what bastion of that doesn't make you go, well, what kind of identity do I have here?
Right.
Is like all this looks like a big pile of horseradish, and I'm going to pack the bag and I'm going to head over there. And then your identity gets reshaped and formed by folks who are pretty open to whatever you're feeling like. And they're accepting about it. And like, does that feel a lot different than let down? Where the heck is God here? And so like all that stuff plays into, I think, the caution of why it matters what we do, why we can't have this faith that just goes, well, I'm saved here. I sit on butt and wait. like, or that we get to continue, like the hypocriticality of being a Christian who goes, oh yeah, God loves and he totally saved me, and then act like a self-righteous jackwagon all the time.
Right.
Like, those aren't free. Those perversions of God's grace aren't free.
Right.
They just cost somebody else.
Yeah, doesn't hit you immediately.
Yeah, and like, but here's the thing: if Christians, now recognizing that like everyone has a sense, like notions of hypocrisy in you. Some of it's intentional, some of it's
Of course.
you're working through. But like where you can walk through those in humility, you don't run these same problems. Because whatever, my wife will attest. I've let her down all kinds of times. But it's not because I'm not trying. It's not because I won't admit when I did. It said, boy, I let it down here. By the grace of God go I. Right? And so like that's walking along people, communities that are will get it wrong but will do so humbly is way different than being dragged around by arrogance and human power, masquerading as if it is the love of God.
Yeah.
This is hard to come back from. Because every lesson you've learned says everything we told you that is true about the reality of having a relationship with God just took a dump on your front porch and lit it on fire.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yep.
This
I get
isn't
it.
unfortunately a 20-minute sermon sum up for you. Like there's no catchphrases that we can use. There's no Bible verses that are going to be like, hey, here's this and fix everything here. At the risk of seeming weird to start, I'm so sorry that you have been spit on and stepped on and hurt in so many situations, and I'm so excited that you are in a place where you're starting to feel real joy. Unfortunately, it's in a place where I wouldn't want it to be from, but hurt people are pretty good at comforting each other.
Yeah.
And so it's sad that you're there. I'm hoping that the therapy that you're in can start to kind of break through some of these hurts and to start understanding, and then maybe you can see a little bit clearer view of what God is on the other side.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, this is not meant to be another spit in your face, but he loves you and he is so excited for you to come to him.
That's what I say. Like, I come back to something that Mike said, is that like, even if it feels, again, I presume that we're going to give advice here, but like, that's presumptuous and a bit arrogant. But like, I would say that my hope would be is that like, even the whole thing feels bogus, maybe just hold out a little bit of hope that the thing that you were praying for still yet you'll see and will come through. And I'm not saying that God hasn't been speaking and that he's abandoned you. I don't think that was true, but it doesn't mean that it's not hard to discern.
Right.
But just like if it doesn't, it won't cost you anything to hold on to the mustard seed here and just say maybe.
Yep.
Maybe.
She needs to be involved, introduced to an authentic group of genuine believers. And if it says that in their marketing, it's probably not them.
Truth.
Group of people.
Might be a guy at a store or a gal at a store.
Who don't have a clue who she is or what she's done or what her talents are, and just live in faith with and she can learn and they can learn from her and see genuine faith in action. She's not had that modeled for her from what we can read.
Yeah. I'd be curious. I bet there's all kinds of really, really interesting things. Like we're trying to extrapolate a bunch from a tweet.
Yeah.
I'd read a book. I'd be super interested because, like, I mean, whatever. We probably even missed the mark on some of the stuff we said just because there's not enough detail here, and so I mean, regrets on that. But just anyway. Hey, before we do some advice, you guys want to hear? We got another suggestion for the Monopoly board.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Okay, here we go. One, a chance card. Catfish has cooked you dinner. Pay $50. It's a high class meal.
Yes, catfish.
That is spelled AHOHOHOH.
Yes, gotta love an onomatopoeia. That's good stuff.
And then another chance card. You have been robbed by the Ayasara. Pay $100 in repairs. These are great.
This is great.
Yeah.
You're killing it.
This game is making itself.
Oh man, this is fantastic. Yeah, keep that coming.
Okay.
Okay, ready? Dear Life from the Path, I've been in a long-term relationship with my boyfriend Mac for about 25 years.
Dump him.
That is long
You
term.
dump him right now.
Give or take.
February carry the two.
Mark it 11 years ago, we became more like roommates.
Oh.
I asked him to go to couples counseling, but he adamantly refused. He said, if you don't like it, find someone else. Long story short, I began an affair with an acquaintance of ours. Okay, I don't know if it's really an affair. Anyway, after a short time, the affair came to light, and Mac agreed to then go to couples counseling, which was very helpful. I cut off all contact with the other man and any social contacts he and his wife were involved with. Mac and I slowly made new friends, and our relationship is stronger than ever. Problem is, we have been invited to a wedding of the son of some very dear friends, who came to my son's wedding last month. But the other man and his wife will also be attending. Mac refuses to go to the wedding or allow me to go. What do you think? What?
Oh, okay. So it's a friend of yours' son's wedding.
Yes.
That your ex affair is going to with his wife.
Yes.
And your current boyfriend of
25 years.
14 years and some stuff
Yeah.
doesn't want you to go to the wedding that the guy you had an affair with, also when he had kind of given up on the relationship too, is there.
Yeah. How long until they release season 2? That's what I want to know.
That's right. Look, turns out Mac is also the limo driver.
And someone's in a coma. It would appear as though the person who's writing to Life in the Path is trying to be socially acceptable with the friend whose son's wedding it is by saying, well, they came to our blah, 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 blah. I don't think I care about that, though. Like, if your relationship with Mac is going well now, maybe have a conversation about why and realize that the why is because your ex-affair is going to be there. That seems like a big deal. Mm-hmm. No matter what social situation you're in.
Now, I want to try to put this in a little bit of perspective. This affair happened over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like it might be a little long to be carrying that around as an adult.
As for Mac?
For both of them.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for either one. And I only say that because obviously there's not a whole lot of moral compass swimming around in any of this.
Yeah.
Right? So if we're just talking about people's base reactions, base repairs, base whatever. You're an adult. An icky thing happened 10 years ago. I don't know what the consequences. First of all, I can't blame Mac for not wanting to go. I wouldn't really want to see the other dude.
Yeah,
I totally get it.
Right.
So you might be a little bit out of line.
Yeah.
Two, Mac refusing to go for an affair that happened 10 years ago after his response of, if you don't like it, go sleep with somebody else.
That's the complication for me too. Right.
It's pretty bold 10 years in the future to go, I don't want to see this guy.
Yeah, you remember that time you were a
basically
schmuck?
dropped me off there.
Right.
You put me in a car
Yeah.
and opened the door and said, go have that fella.
Yeah, your apathy that made it feel like we're just hanging out together.
And whoever deserves to suffer the least in this entire equation is whoever's getting married. This doesn't seem to be their problem. Why don't you just show up and act like a couple of adults here?
Side glance from the table and ask the bride and groom to put them at a different spot.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's and I've actually asked people on this show to come on the show and talk to me about some counseling attitudes and some trauma things, because I'm just my brain and my heart don't do it very well. But I know people that have gone through some legit trauma and came out on the other side better than this. Right? Over two consenting adults who made a terrible decision. 10 years later, still dragging it down the road like it's people losing limbs. Right? People have sicknesses. People in hospital beds. And they're figuring out how to live life better. And that happened to them 2 years ago.
I don't know. I don't know if it means they're not living a good life. I think it means, I would not be interested at all. If 10 years ago my wife had an affair with someone and I had an opportunity to be in the same room with the dude, I'd be like, I moved on.
But aren't you allowing them to dictate your life? Aren't you putting them in a position of power?
I mean, it's not like they're
them decide whether you're
trying
going
to
to go or
worm
not.
their way in. They just both were. I mean, okay, your average couple. Let's say they invite 300 people. 150 are going to show up.
Right.
You're going to be part of the 150 don't show up. I mean, it's like they're. I mean,
Isn't Mike's point I think Mike's point is let's say you really wanted to go. Are you going to allow that man's presence to cause you to not?
That's true. I guess I would if I really, really, really wanted to.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine a wedding that I'd be like, I really, 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 really have to. I'd be like, you know what? That's the
Here's the deal. The solution here might be the easiest portion is she goes, he doesn't.
Yeah.
Why is that such a big deal?
That makes him.
That's got trust.
It makes him look exactly how he is.
Yeah.
Does it not?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Here's the thing. There is a prudence to unnecessary drama. And so I think you might P. Swayze this thing. You say you be polite, but you keep it outside. You don't bring drama to somebody's marriage. You don't cause drama in your own marriage by going to a place where the guy you cheated with is at.
Weddings
it by
bring all
yourself.
kinds of weird emotions to people too, just by themselves. I don't know why that is, but they just do.
Yeah.
And
Like, what makes it worth it is the question. Like, is it that important to go? It didn't sound like it was. It sounds like there's just you got like some kind of.
It's a safe face to equalize.
Well, now
Yeah,
they
well,
put
they're
it in a
cool.
more not smarmy light. They said wedding of a son of some very dear friends. I would like to attend the wedding of the kids of my very dear friends.
yeah, that's true. It's the dear friends.
Weird response. Mike, I totally get where you're coming from when you're saying that.
Oh,
yes,
here we go. Here comes the butt truck.
It's been 10 years, and maybe we can be adults and forgive and move on and not let it dictate our lives. I totally get that. But butt train.
Oh, I thought you were just insulting him. You call him butt truck.
No.
Okay.
He's driving a truck with the word butt in it, and he's dropping it
I
off.
was slow to the
Two
uptake.
things have happened to me today from Mike Foost. One is he complimented the shape of my face. Then he said, "Man, you really are a butt truck."
You're playing hard and fast with the compliment word. Continue on.
I really am. It's yeah. I feel like I'm in the same place where I don't care how long it's been. I don't think I'm letting you dictate my life. I just don't want to see you. Like, I feel like that's completely understandable to just go, yeah, I get it.
So we
I
say
totally
this
get it,
about
but I just-
alcoholics,
I
right?
don't
We're
see
like,
it.
hey, if it's going to cause you trouble, you just can't go in a bar. Sorry, that's it. Even if you're just going to
Yeah,
drink
it's been
seltzer.
10 years since you've had a drink.
But like, this is not what we're talking about here. We're not saying like as soon as she walks into the wedding, all of a sudden she's like, my old flame, and then she's busting across the room.
That's not what I think the worry is. I don't think it's, I'm going to go run across. I think it's the thought that could start. I think it's the one thing that flips into mind of I haven't seen that guy in so long. There was emotion there at one point in time. I'm a human being, and that starts thoughts.
And did the
And
other
then
wife
thoughts
know?
can go cyclical.
It does not say whether the
Okay, 'cause
other
it
wife.
just stirs up relationships.
I think
I
it's completely understandable to go. It may not turn into anything. I may never see the person again, but that's exactly the point. I never want to see that person again.
So
there
you-
are people in my life that I never want to see again. I've given up everything on them. They don't dictate my life. They don't change anything. But if I know they're going to be somewhere, I just don't go there.
Even if they're going somewhere that you also want to go, you would just stay home and go, well, I guess they get to have this one. Not, why don't you stay home? Why do you get to go to the wedding? And
I
don't
feel
get
like
to go?
that's more drama than just not going.
Yeah, I think that's this
It
is-
really depends on how important, I guess, the event is.
That's
to
right.
you.
This is not sufficiently gray. One of your kids is going to get married, and this some dude you're not supposed to be around decide he's going to show up. Are you not going to come? Of course you're going to come. Like, you're not going to skip. It's easier because it feels like it's a peripheral relationship. You're avoiding some of the hard questions by saying, "Am I okay letting this person's behavior dictate my behavior?" In something of which, like, no joke, like I would never miss this for the world, and that guy's not the world.
Yeah, I tell you what, put it as take it out of a wedding and say it's a baptism, just for people in the room for relevancy. Somebody's going to get baptized, and like, very dear friend, your son, and like, you grew up with this kid, you knew him, and then so and so is going to be there. You're like, you skipped the baptism.
Not to respond to that with another complication here, but I also don't know if
He
trust.
also has 6 legs.
I also don't know if I trust the disparity between what she believes are dear friends and all that stuff and what Mac believes are dear friends. of
Quibbles.
theirs.
It's quibbles. It doesn't matter. Like, you're right. You're avoiding the conversation that says, "Do I have to make a hard decision?" Not. It's easier if there's some sort of, "Hey, I misunderstand the relationship's not that close." Mike's question is, it's a hard decision. Are you going to miss the baptism of a very dear friend's child, maybe someone you even like helped assist youth group and you were part of it or whatever, because some dude who you said you don't want to be around is going to be there?
To answer that, no, I would not miss it.
Right. So
I'd go.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So like, I think the right point is that there's not a black and white answer here. The question is that you really have to ask yourself is, you're going to stir up something. Is it worth it? You're going to stir up potential feelings of resentment between the laggard, the guy who refuses to marry people. You have worry about what feelings or emotional attachments you may have had to this person. Even if you've not thought a lick of them since, you're concerned about what that might stir up in you. You're concerned about what drama it may create between you and that guy, or the guy, whoever he's bringing with her on somebody else's wedding. The question is it worth it? That's the question. Is it worth it to the baptism in that scenario? It's worth the risk because it's that important. The question is it worth it here?
So yeah, if you really, really want to go, usually weddings are big enough you can figure out
Hide in
how
the
to
back.
be on the other side.
See, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I was half, figuring out how to get it done without causing a scene. But I thought, you go, you make sure the kids saw that you showed up, you gift, you're out,
And for that reason, I also think it's not that big of a deal if she goes and he doesn't.
He's not allowing her to go. Although I'm not sure what
Yeah,
under
see,
terms
that's-
Mac is dictating
That's
people
what I
to
was
do
going to
things.
say. That also gets to the other core of it is Mac's a schmuck and has been for 25 years.
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem. And it sounds like they're still not married.
No.
Like, I think they're still dating.
Just as
I think she just freaking
that
goes.
woman's parents were not Christians, this man is not a husband.
Yeah, and he can't dictate her. She gives him too much power to be able to dictate this kind of stuff. If after 25 years, 11 of which might have just been roomies, just go.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's
forget
where I'm
Mac. Go.
Yeah.
And-
What's he
and-
going to do? Not be your husband?
And guess what?
He's already doing that.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The consequence there is not there.
Maybe
He's a
he'll
schmuck.
move out.
You
Maybe
may
this
have
will
to-
solve every problem
Right.
you got.
Or you may realize that this is the kind of thing that causes another 10 years of roommatehood, and you're still in the wrong dang relationship that you have been in for 25 years.
Yeah.
With a child.
Child Mac. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Secular says, I think it's regrettable that your partner is unwilling or unable to face your former lover and his wife. Boy, I wouldn't put it
Why
that
would
way.
you have to face them?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like it's a mano a mano.
They're on the reception line together.
Right. Why won't he contend with him in an alley?
Be cordial for a couple hours and concentrate on the celebration. But that's the way it is. Send a gift for the bride and groom and stay home.
Just go.
Hmm.
Leave Mac behind.
Yeah, I mean, I just you don't have to run into people if you don't want to. There's a lot of control in places like that where you don't. I mean, I don't think you're going to be forced to eat chicken wings and right next to him.
Yeah, but you also don't know if the guy's going to come over. Can't control him.
I mean, you can walk away. It's going to create a real
That's
odd
going to be a
scenario
real awkward situation.
where, like,
if
you're
it's
the
like magnets pushing each other away from the side of a dance
you're the
floor.
Pac-Man and he's the ghost. Or whatever. That's going to feel real weird.
Yeah, but which one are you? The one
But-
that goes
but,
up
like-
and down or sideways or diagonal?
But I mean, at some point, isn't that like super comical that this person is
Yes.
acting this way? I don't want to speak with you, and then here he comes. It's like following around. At some point, I think at the moment that something so outrageous happens, like it triggers in your brain to go, "This is ridiculous. This man is being comically. This is a circus, and I'm not worried about it
So
anymore."
who's on first situation
Yeah.
I need to get out of?
Yeah. Okay, Mike, you got one
Okay,
more.
ready? Last one.
Yeah.
Dear Live from the Past.
Is this about like trouble, like migrants' troubles of assimilating into the United States?
No.
Okay, good. I was just making sure.
Dear Live from the Past.
Those
Is that
ethnic,
supposed to be funny?
those ethnic stories don't play.
I didn't use one. When was the last time we went through an ethnic story?
They don't. People on YouTube don't like them.
It's also weird to use the word
Are we getting
ethnic.
bad comments?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't care. Here we go. Dear Live from the Past. Every year, my girlfriend and I take each other out for dinner on our birthdays and bring a gift. This year, even though I am currently experiencing financial hardship, I bought her a gift and offered her dinner. What? At the restaurant, she ordered the largest portion of what she wanted. She stated it's what she always orders in that restaurant. I responded that she always takes half of it home. After that, I had offered to buy her dinner for that night, not for 2 days.
You
got
can
ver-
just stop. I love this so much. I love people.
She got very angry and said I was ruining her birthday. She then said she'd pay for her own meal. I declined her offer and paid, but now I'm wondering if I was wrong. She did pay for half the appetizer, which I didn't want or eat, and she left the tip. Should I have told her before we went out to dinner that I was on a tighter budget? Can our relationship be saved? Boy, you're an idiot.
Wait, so is this my girlfriend is in like dude dating girl, or is this my girlfriend is in like 55-year-old Karen hanging out with 55-year-old Betty?
It does not say, I would guess, dude dating girl. I would put this doofus in his 20s.
Weird. I would also put this as two old catty ladies. That totally feels like two old grandmas that have just recently been more empowered in their 50s and are super excited in life and are taking each other out for girlfriend dates.
Huh.
Dang it. I suppose it doesn't really matter, but still.
I said, I'm only taking you out to dinner. I'm not feeding you for 2 days.
I hear my Nana saying that.
That's totally
I can absolutely hear my Nana saying that.
Oh, boy.
You met the woman.
Yeah.
This is something else.
Oh dear.
Okay, here's the telling question. Should I have told her before we went out for dinner that I was on a tighter budget? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have.
Go somewhere else.
Yeah, you can be honest about it. If it's boyfriend, girlfriend, yes, you can be honest about
Even
that
if it's
stuff.
two old gray hairs. Hey, man.
Right.
I'm
Also,
short.
yeah, exactly. Like if it's two old gray hairs trying to, maybe instead of Biaggi's this year, we go to Perkins.
Yeah. I love you at street taco level.
Yes.
I'm,
could
I'm
be all
super
right.
excited to get you something off the roller grill at the Come and Go.
Yeah, instead, because it was all posturing, right? Get whatever you want, baby. I'll have the ribeye. Whoa, fatty. Whoa.
She got the largest portion of the thing she likes and said, "This is what I always get."
It's not like she said, give me the double portion of the ribeye, right? She
Right.
probably just ordered what was on the menu.
Yeah, the biggest portion means that you got the double portion of pasta at the Olive Garden.
Or
You need
like,
to call me
or
that.
not the brunch size or something like
Right.
the legit normal entree.
Right, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't order the chicken tenders off the kids menu. I got the full size 7-piece.
She paid for half the appetizer and left the tip. This better be two old
That's not
biddies.
much of a birthday. I mean,
Yeah,
dude,
right. Hey, do you want to
buy
sit
it
next to me and
all.
pay for your own
Yeah,
meal?
right, exactly. Yes. Like, hey, every year we do this once a year. I need you to get that appetizer,
Yeah.
at least half. Like, I didn't even want that.
And
then
you knew
better
this
get
was
that
coming.
tip.
You knew her birthday was coming.
Save up.
You spent no time trying to be prepared for this?
Financial
disappointed.
hardship, you get cans.
Yeah.
She needs a better boyfriend
You can
or a
spend a
gray-haired
year.
girlfriend.
Yeah. or a better Karen.
Or
Dang
yeah.
it. Yeah. But I mean, also, did it make mention that it seems like the person that was getting food had any intent or any idea that the person was having financial
No.
hardship? No, not at all.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, zero.
I mean, they
Okay, well
obviously
then
can't-
if they do always get that, the person isn't being a jerk.
Well, how-
like, that's just what they get.
I mean,
Right,
how
right.
close can you be to somebody and not know that they're under new financial
That's the
hardship?
truth. It's like,
Let's
hey
see.
man, I noticed that you're wearing hand-me-downs.
Hope they're not getting married because they have no communication
Right,
issue.
exactly.
I mean,
it's like, I don't
plenty
know
of
your
issues, but-
finances at all. You could be 120 grand in debt, and I have no idea. Who boy?
Yeah.
If you're Karen's, calm it down. Live your lives.
Yeah, it's just,
So
you know.
the
Just
que-
be catty for the next year. And if you're boyfriend and girlfriend, you guys need to seriously communicate.
Yeah, so the question was, should I have told her before we went out that I was on a tighter budget?
Yes.
The answer, of course, yes.
Absolutely.
Can our relationship be saved? Not if you're in it.
Nope.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Foot down, Mike Foost.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not if you're a part of it.
I mean, I think it could be saved, but it's going to be
Oh,
awkward.
Dan, that's realism.
One plus U equals 0.
I know my calculus.
Yeah, that means I'm a 10. Yeah, this is why no one's in a relationship with you, dummy.
But do you notice what, like, at the very start of the letter, he goes, or the question, he's like, we do this, which means, like, kind of implies year over year over
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
Like,
they've been around.
yeah. I don't know if he's marriage material. He's a Mac made man.
Yeah, you're going to have 11 years of roommatehood, excuse me,
Yeah.
and a possible affair.
Okay. Here's
Make
a
wedding
Secular
really
says.
awkward in 25 years.
Secular says, strong relationships thrive when there's honest communication.
Yes.
You and the birthday girl have been seeing each other for an extended period of time. If money is tight, you should have mentioned it long before her birthday rolled around. Yes, she should have been aware of it before you invited her to dinner. Because she wasn't, I can understand why she might have been put off by what she may have interpreted as a snide comment rather than a cry for help. Can your relationship be saved? Yes, as long as you two really start talking to each other.
Yeah, I mean, do you realize there's two faults that multiple, but like you've put her in such a hard situation. Not only did you not actually give her what she wanted for her birthday, right? Like you
Yeah.
showed up with very little coin, but then you reacted in such a way that now she has to feel like bad about
Yeah,
herself
she's a bad
for how
person.
she's behaved.
Yeah.
And like, what a crappy position to put somebody in.
Especially in the era of the Disney princess. I mean, everybody on their birthday is a Disney princess, and he did not treat
Especially
her like a
Mike.
princess.
Especially me.
I've seen Mike on his birthday. The dresses are weird.
Yeah.
Tiara's kind of cute, though.
Thank you. I don't know. Booba did it.
You've been listening to Live from the Path. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. If you have any feedback for us on the show, I mean, just pick a portion. This thing ran gangbusters. We had a heck of a night. It's a long one. It's like almost 2 hours.
Oh.
Okay, well, I should chop it up just because we're going to be out for a couple weeks. Just for a heads up, I know we're like erratic with the posting of the show. I'm sorry about that. That's completely my fault.
We'll be here next week.
But like I'm out. I think I'm out. But
Ben's
I think,
out.
Yeah, but the fellows are going to run a
You're
program.
not the only part of this show, Ben.
That's right. That's
what
right.
a bloviated thing to say.
This is
you know
the-
what? Ben can't make it. We're shutting this all down.
Yeah.
Says Mike, the guy who made coffee halfway through.
Here's the thing. That conversation went on for like 20 minutes past its
To the
prime.
point where you walked over
I was
and
done.
started a Keurig machine in the back.
You guys, listen, you said everything that could be said, and then you put it in a box, shuffled it around, and then started picking out the pieces again and putting it in different orders.
We realized that the box could have been packed a different way.
I don't agree with Booba. Hey, anyway, you've been listening to Live from the Path. Hook us up on the Live from the Path complaint line, 515-517-0085. Call or text that line. You got feedback for us on the show if you've got more ideas. We've got some gangbuster ideas on this
Yes.
live
LFTP.
LFTP-opoly.
LFT Popoli.
That's too many P's, Mike.
LFT.
You've
no,
also
it's-
said gangbusters 3 times in the last 2
If
hours.
you're going to do that, you have to say LFT, just LFT-popoly. Not LFTP-popoly.
I don't sound right. LFT Popoli.
Yeah, that's
cool.
right.
yeah, that's what he's saying to say.
Okay, that's right.
LFT Popoli. That's
Anyway.
how I said it. I didn't say LFTPP Popoli.
I
You
don't.
said that.
I don't agree with
I can
Booba.
attest
I
to
said
it.
pee-pee.
I'm going to be honest. I don't agree with Booba either, so we're all on the same page.
All right. Anyway, we're going to cut you loose. Thanks for hanging out with us. In the meantime, be faithful in means God will handle the ends. You've been listening to live from the path.
Upland.
I will repeat, the mute buttons don't work.
You
Mute me.
try so hard, man.
I'll speak when I want. Fight me.
There's two arguments here. It could be said that
Yeah. You guys are like a dry waffle. I'm telling you. Sometimes it's hard to take it.